I'd like to welcome you, Thomas, for this exciting topic. We have already started talking last week. The topic is how to get more done with less stress.
Yeah.
We do have another talk recording which is available on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. So people can watch that. But in the continuation of that, we will continue the topic. But before that, I'd like to introduce Thomas. I know Thomas do not need any introduction. He is a very well-known personality in the project management program space. He go around the world. Recently, he was in Lebanon addressing a conference. So he comes from Germany. He was the founder of PMI German chapter and is still part of the Frankfurt chapter and supporting the chapter from various angles and played very important role as part of PMI Global. And here we are after 80 plus recordings we have done together with lots of topic and a lot of discussion around various project management, program management, portfolio management concepts.
Yes.
So I'm happy to have you here once again. And thank you for your contribution to bring your knowledge, your wisdom, and sharing that with lots of people around the world. So I'm very honored to be the person who's interviewing you, talking to you all the time, to bring the knowledge, extract out of you so that we keep learning from you for many years to come. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to thank you, Dharam, that you have the persistence of myself to continue to do these things. When we started it, I think it was around Corona times. Maybe we thought we can talk about things, maybe 10 of these discussions. But now, as we are approaching 100, maybe we reach it. And hopefully we can funnel all these talks into one book one day so that other people can read it and buy it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy these discussions because they really initiate some thinking, some memories and the studies I had, and especially the topic today, how to get done more with less stress. I think last time I brought that example that when I was working for IBM around the 2000s, then I also started volunteering for PMI. And everybody in IBM asked me, do you have the time for that? And the volunteering for PMI, in the role I had, I was the president of the Frankfurt chapter, as you mentioned. And it took up to 30 days every year in volunteering. Okay, the 30 days often were on the weekends. It was not that, although in Germany we have 30 days of vacation, so it's not so big a deal, but it took on work besides my demanding clients and all these program and project troubles. And it's a mindset thing. So I, on purpose, overloaded myself with things to do. So they had a long to-do list to to get the habit not to be really stressed when I look in the morning at what I should do, because I understood that you never can bring that list to zero, to empty that list. It will be always there. And it's a permanent reshuffling. Yeah, you have a to-do list. Yeah. I still have a to-do list. But I'm not really prioritizing. So I have just things that are on top and things that fall away, and some things I accomplish until today. So I was actually, the core mindset is it's my life is my time. So I determine what I do with every hour,
Yep.
and you have to develop this kind of habits and feelings what to do next. And for sure, a customer calls and there is a crisis, and then you react. But even if there's a crisis within the chapter, you also react, you put it up. And on the other hand, you work down on your backlog if you want.
We have a full session which people can watch if they have not watched the previous questions and discussion. And we'll continue the journey with my questions and discussion. And I will ask the question and you will share the knowledge.
Yeah.
Today's first question is, you have worked with many multinational or multicultural teams across continents. How do cultural differences influence how people manage workload, stress, and productivity?
Yeah. So I worked very early in Germany, but then also in Europe. So for Panasonic Europe, it was my client. And so I could do projects where we had the project customer sitting in the UK, the team sitting in Germany, and then there were Japanese there. So always this triangle of three cultures was in our rollout projects for SAP. Same in France, same in Russia, same in Eastern Europe. We always had the local culture, we had the Japanese culture, we had the German culture with the core team members. And I really liked it because it gave me the opportunity to leverage the different viewpoints and to come to solutions. One culture would have a hard time to come to that. For Germans, it's very difficult to lead a project with French people. So even in Europe, we have a gap between cultures, so we can learn a lot, like a sandbox. But then if you extend, so we worked with Indians as an outdoors team. I had an outdoors team in Pune, India, about 100 people. And so we worked on that and we leveraged, we made us aware of the differences with the Indian guys in that we very frequently visited the team in Pune face to face. Some people from us, I myself was also there, but we also brought Indians, including their families sometimes, to Germany to work here for 1 or 2 years and maybe then go back. So this is something. But the most, let's say, the most staggering part I saw was when working with Japanese. Japanese is Asian culture, and so they are not the same culture as the Chinese. This is East Asian area share some cultural ideas. So the first thing is humans, elements of communities. They are not standalone humans like in the West. So they're not individuals. So if we talk about freedom, then or democracy or what you want, is in the West, it's always the individual the democracy and it's individual freedom and you want to be happy. But for the Japanese as well as the Chinese, it's more that the community you are a part of. And for the Japanese, it's a community on the job. Then they want to make that successful. They want to provide more freedom, more autonomy for these communities. And that's a basic cultural, I would say, gap. If you have both, you can leverage both. But if you only have the individual freedom, you have so many limitations. Once I asked a Japanese customer executive because we needed someone to be in charge of data migration, the data on their side. So I asked him, who is managing your data of your customers? And the answer was very honest. Everybody is. Yeah. So it was not concentrated on one individual, not one individual would be in charge, but everybody. And this somehow highlights the difference in the thinking. The Western style is if you have one person responsible for that and he fails to take his responsibility, so you can blame him and fire him and whatever. You have some human to really to blame. That's not the case in Asian things. And I just was in a conference and I saw a presentation that struck me in the same thing. We also have this in the Western world. I don't want to really discard the Western thinking, but it was a pilot, a private pilot, a German one, and he flew into UK and with his plane for the first time. And somehow he was called by the tower, by the air controllers. You have to immediately change your flight level because you are on the flight level of commercial planes.
Mm.
And yeah, they did it in an emergency. And it was somehow okay in the moment. But weeks later, he got a letter from the air control authority in the UK to explain what was wrong. Why was he on that wrong plane? It's very dangerous. This letter also stated it's not to find out why you are personally guilty or for something, what you did personally wrong, but it's to find out where the process failed. This is a kind of Japanese Chinese thinking you would find there. They are not looking to blame an individual for a problem, but they are trying to find how can we avoid this problem by improving the process or adding some safeguards and so on. So I think this is one of the big differences you can leverage. And if you have both mindsets somehow ingrained in your brain, your stress level goes down immediately because you always have different perspectives on one problem, and you can use these perspectives to stay calm, to understand that you have a wider range of solutions for this problem.
Exactly. We know when you have exposure to different kind of culture, you learn from different like Japanese and French and German and Indian, the different way of handling situation and different way of working out the stress. Sometimes people take too much stress, like world is going to fall apart. I'm the most important person who will solve the problem. Or let's take it. This is the problem, big problem. It's not show stop. Everything
Yeah,
is stopped. But can we do anything? Yes, let's do it. Break it down in smaller pieces and get it done. Give the right ownership to right person.
yeah,
Track everything. There has to be some system around that. There can be some chaotic environment situation where really things are falling apart. Then we have to think differently. But again, even those situations, some people can handle the same situation very differently, manage
yeah.
differently. Yes, everything is falling apart, but how you see things, how you're going to help each other, how you're going to bring them together, that's the way the difference comes between you and the other person who can handle it better.
So if there's a problem and you ask the person what went wrong,
Yes.
sometimes people are afraid of being blamed, so they hide maybe information because they don't want to show where they could have acted differently. In the Asian culture, less it also happens, but it's probable because people understand we are solving a problem in the system and not a problem of myself.
And yeah, so we should look around and see what other people, how they handling the workload and stress and productivity by having to-do list, having a culture of doing some physical activities, meditation, yoga, or tai chi, or anything, walking, swimming, whatever. All these things help you to bring your stress level down. Then you go back to the work and you can pay attention to the real problem and solve the problem much easily. Then where the productivity goes up. That's where the difference comes between you are in control, and the other person who is just running around madly and is saying, why are you not stressed? They're actually surprised. Why are you not stressed? Hey, I'm stressed. Everybody's stressed. Why you don't show any stress? Don't you see the
Yeah.
urgency? I'm showing the urgency, but my way of showing urgency, not showing the stress, but more about getting
Yeah.
the problem to the solution.
The question was, how do cultural differences influence how people manage workload, stress, and productivities? These are, let's say, views on how we work, what the output is, and how we come to that. What, in my view, missing, if you also look at the Eastern culture, is how people manage relationships. And if you manage your relationships, you should develop them to a level that you trust each other.
Yeah,
Even in the Western context, you are much more likely to find honestly the root cause of the problem. And finding root causes is important, but also it requires that there is a mutual trust between the guys who made something on the field and those guys who are trying to improve the process.
exactly. Great. My next question is, what role does emotional intelligence, EI, play in getting more done with less stress, especially when you talk about the project, program, and portfolio leaders?
Yeah, I cannot stress it enough. Emotional intelligence is very important for the development of each person to live a successful life and a life that is perceived positive by everybody. And it's especially important for leaders. Yeah. If your emotional intelligence quotient is very high, then you automatically are a good leader. Let me explain that because emotional intelligence has four areas, and some say five, but let it keep it simple. Two areas are concerned with myself. So I prepare myself to be emotional intelligent, which means that I'm aware of myself. I have less blind spots, which creates a better self confidence. I know who I am. And if I have less blind spots, I'm not taken by surprise. If
Yeah,
somebody points to me and says, okay, why are you doing this? I know why I was doing that. I know my biases. I know my thinking styles. I know my triggers. If I'm aware of that, then I have less stress because I'm really not surprised of that. And the second thing is myself. Awareness is the one thing. It's just like observing myself and understanding what I'm perceiving and what I'm acting. And the next thing is to control my actions, which often come out of emotions. We make 3,000 decisions every day. How many of them are conscious? Conscious, not so many. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have to control how we react to triggers, stress triggers. You see a spider on the wall, is it a stress trigger? And if you see the spider on the wall, you can say, okay, I'm afraid of it and I want to run away, I want to scream. And maybe you saw these kind of reactions from somebody. But you also can say, okay, if I know that, I can see a spider, and before my emotional brain, my amygdala, my limbic system jumps in and pumps me full of hormones and everything, then I can ask myself a question. And if I ask myself a question, then automatically my logic brain and my prefrontal cortex comes into play and may override what the amygdala is doing and stops this. Because questions cannot be answered by my limbic system, they only can be answered by my prefrontal cortex. And if I ask me the question, I see a spider, do I want to be afraid in the moment? The answer is hopefully no. You could also say the answer could be, if you are teasing yourself, I want to panic now. Yeah. But if you are in this kind of control, if you recognize triggers of your stress emotions, then you can over time avoid them. It's not working the first day, but maybe you go in a room with a lot of spiders and then you say, okay, I ask myself a question, do I want to panic now or what? And you don't panic. So if you are in self-control, you are automatically more resilient. So triggers come in and you don't overreact and you don't react emotionally. You are resilient. You are really bouncing back. And also your emotional balance improves. With that, your serenity. Old wise man, your grandpa or whatever, do you think he is showing his serenity? He is not easily being excited or triggered with something. It's less stress with that. And stress is always induced by the amygdala if you let it take control of your body. And then your body takes control of your brain, and then you are there. So these are the two things, self awareness, self control, you should build. And then there are two other effects of
Right.
emotional intelligence. It's about others. Same thing. I'm aware of others, which means empathy. I can feel what others are thinking, feeling. I can improve this kind of empathy by a lot of things. I think the easiest way to start building empathy is active listening. So active listening is a set of techniques, maybe 10 or so, and you can learn it. You can Google it, improve your empathy. And it's never so that you are the most empathic person in the world. There's never enough. So it's not that you are successful in improving your empathy, but you make progress, you build it, it's great on that. And then others observe, understand, aware, then you go to others and interact with them. And so the original text of emotional intelligence by Goldman says, okay, that's social skills, social interactions. I call it, because we are in the project and program management environment, I call it influencing skills.
Influence the skill.
Because project managers always complain we have no positional power, so we have to influence without power.
Yeah.
And I actually attended a class in 95 or so by IBM exactly about what are the ways how we can exert influence without power. Having power, having positional power, being the boss of someone, then you can easily exert influence. You just order them. If they don't obey, in the end, you can fire them or whatever. But this also is a danger, because if you have this power and you are showing that power too
Yeah.
often, you are really damaging the respect they have for you and your leadership position. So I think leadership is always influencing without authority. Always. You can learn this influencing skills. So there are techniques also that help you. For example, if you look at the personality types of people, there is this DISC, if you
Yeah.
heard of that, or MBTI or Big Five.
Yeah.
Look at these techniques in personality types, and they help you to understand people and to know what they are receptive to. So if you have somebody who is a guy who is more reacting on audio signals or on visual signals or on haptic signals, it depends how you approach them. Maybe one who is more on the haptic system, you touch them, you shake hands, or you clap them on the shoulder, and this kind of stuff. Or not so much in the audio area. So I don't give people send me a audio file through WhatsApp. I like to read the text. I like to read. I'm more a visual guy. And also I like to see a graphic or a picture. So if you want to influence guys and you have somebody who likes to, like me, who wants to see a picture or a text, and you send them the audio file, you don't influence them positively, because in the first moment they see what you sent them, they are already taken back a little bit. So these are the four elements of emotional intelligence, and I try to give you some examples. And I only can say, if you are starting a project management career, and especially if you somehow develop in the program management career, where stakeholder engagement is much more important, much more influential, then you must work on your emotional intelligence quotient.
Exactly. And thank you, Thomas. It's a great way to explain the four quadrant of the emotional intelligence and how these all the four quadrant can help you to know about yourself and to know about what triggers you in those emotions, knowing about your team members, your other team, understanding them, what's going on with them, and listening to them. All these are very good traits of a good project program managers or portfolio managers, because
Yeah.
you have to work with them. We are going to work with people. At the end of the day, we are still don't work with the machine. We are still working with the human. We need to understand what is going on with their life, and can you do something to improve the working environment. Maybe the timing can be different or a little bit here and there. Especially when you're working in the multi time zones environment. Of course, you have a 9 to 5 time, but what about other people? And I'll just give you one example. When I was working with HP, and I was working on a very urgent program, this cloud data center. And my people care manager was in US. I'm in Australia. And his meetings were always like between at 12 o'clock midnight and 2 o'clock in AM. And I cannot join those people care meetings. I said, I'm already on this very high priority program. And you expect me to be in these meetings at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Can you have some meetings which maybe late evening for you, let's say 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or maybe 8 o'clock? No, then we work on a 9 to 5 time basis. Sorry. And you have a time. What about us? And I'm already working 7 to 7, and you expect me to be in the meeting between 12 o'clock or so. So that's where the difference comes. He did say, Dharam, you don't have to join this meeting. So look, then what's the point of you being my people care manager when you cannot hear me, listen to me? So
Yeah.
you have to see other aspects as well. And you have to see what's going on with my people who are in different time zone, different cultural background, and other things as well.
It's, and your experience, it's very important. We have these different time zones, that the leaders don't impose their own best time zone, but that they really ask, the real work is done by the people on the other side of the ocean, and so we have to make sure that everybody is happy with the time zones. And if they don't have this feeling, they are lacking a kind of empathy. They don't understand what you are feeling, and that you are really put off, and you are also not as good at 2 o'clock in the morning as you are maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it's the lack of empathy on these leaders, and they are also showing disrespect.
Yeah.
And somehow there could be a feedback to them, maybe, that this is the case, and they have to learn to manage across time zones.
And as a project manager, program manager, we are in that position as well. We have the team sitting in India or in China, maybe Japan or any other place. And yes, the problem is when you're working now, I see my time. I'm probably not able to connect what's going on with other person. That's where
Yeah,
the emotional intelligence is. This guy, he's from Sydney, Australia, and what's the time there? And what's the kind of project program they're working on? And if you don't relate, you are not able to see their point of view. That's
yeah,
the whole thing about emotional intelligence.
yeah. And it's not has nothing to do with culture. It has something to do with empathy and respect. And that's available in every culture.
Thomas, thank you. And I will move to the next question. In your long, distinguished career, what is one personal habit or mindset shift that has dramatically improved your productivity while reducing your stress?
Yeah, I think the most important mindset or value, if you want, is humility. So when I understood it's not about me, I'm not the outstanding best guy. I'm really dependent on the team and on every team player to be able to work the best. And so I have to start not only delegating, giving people responsibilities and support them to understand these, but also have to exert empathy to try, as we just had the example of the time zones, to understand the problem. And for that, I always try to have regular one-to-one meetings to understand what's going on in your life. And sometimes it's just a family problem. If a wife is pregnant and the husband is on the job and there is some stress, should be, and you have to understand this and have to say, okay, let me know if you need an out time or whatever. I also this humility also helped me develop a habit to see it as my mistake, my failure, if someone on the team fails.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is a mistake, maybe I didn't support enough, I didn't establish the trust enough, maybe the process was bad. And in projects, processes are always bad because in projects, you don't have the time to really furbish and to make all these processes nice and 100% fail safe. Maybe you should do that in projects where you go to the moon. Yeah.
Mm.
But even then, problems happen. So it's always my failure if someone fails. And it's always my failure if there is somebody who leaves the team. Even I tried not to really to get rid of people, but
Yeah.
to understand what is holding them back. And then I see the coaching part of a leader as talking one to one with these guys and closing the gap in understanding what is the lack of understanding or the lack of capabilities. And then, what always helped me a lot is to pair these guys who have a gap with other guys who might have the same gap, but if they work together, they exchange, hopefully they build some trust. And it's always better to have two different guys on one task, and then they can complement each other. And the one maybe is a little bit more looking at the details, and the other one is a little bit more looking forward. And this tension helps them to be productive and reduce both stress. So if you're alone, you have a more stress and a higher stress level. But if you are two guys, you can
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
balance it out a little bit. And with humility comes also respect. I sometimes tell the story when I was retired, I had more time to watch TV.
Mm.
And I watched a series about monkeys. And then I saw how monkeys open bananas. And they did it in a totally different way than I opened bananas for 60 years before retirement. You take the banana and there's a stem, and sometimes it's very hard, so you bite it off. And the monkeys do it the other way around. So they
Yeah.
push on the blossom. It's much easier and it works. So what I'm saying then is you can even learn from monkeys, and you are never too old to learn new stuff. And
Exactly.
and just think outside of the box and change your perspective. And if you do these three things with everything you have, you are growing your emotional intelligence, your wisdom, and you are growing your capability to stay mentally healthy. So that's the
Clear.
point with humility. And I give you a counter thing. I don't think it's humble if I go into some people's LinkedIn profiles and I see the name, okay. And then I see 20 certifications behind the name. What is this guy? Is he humble? Or what is this guy saying? I'm not Thomas Walenta, and all this stuff. So if you are humble, you're just Thomas Walenta. That's it. No,
Mm.
not even a doctor has to be there. Could be. But even if I see this profile and I see some people insisting the doctor should be there, okay, are they defining themselves as humans over the doctor? And what does it say for them? Are they respecting non doctors? Really? You know,
Yeah.
yes. So that's for me always a question. They can do that, but it just says something about them to me.
Look, thank you for sharing your habits, and it's very good to know. And just to add, from my point of view, what I do when I see stress and a lot of work and piling up, two things. One, I've been sharing, I'm into yoga and meditation. That is helping me
Yeah.
every day morning when I do yoga. It's resetting me, so that is helping me to bring my energy back, and I can think from a new angle. And that is my practice. Even if I have no breakfast, no sleep at all, but I wanted to do yoga because that is my life. And that helped me to maintain my, of course, my body as well as my stress level. And that helped me to
Yeah.
do more in this same time. And
I commend you on that. That's really a good way, meditation, yoga, and make it a habit every morning.
exactly. And we should have some kind of habit, may not be yoga, but something which you have, which help you. Some people like to do long walk, go out and just forget about everything, put your plug in your ear and just listen to the favorite music and just
Yeah.
do what, take your mind away from the work, whatever work for you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
when-
you said it rightly. Habits are very important because habits really, I said about 3,000 decisions we make every day, and most of them unconscious, but habits jump in,
yeah,
also unconscious. And so if you have a good set of habits and you remove bad habits and include good habits, what you want to do, then
yeah.
it helps you a lot in your decision making every day.
Yeah. And my second point is about when you are in the stressful environment, when things are not going as you are thinking, planning, and you miss the flight and you're about to miss the flight, or you're in the traffic jam. Can you do anything? And if you can do something, if you cannot do anything, then think why this is happening. Maybe two things. One is to give you a lesson. Okay, next time you're going to be more prepared, give more time, be ready. Or second is to take you to next level so that if you don't see this kind of problem or stress, you will not able to handle it in future. So
Yeah.
and take them from positive side. Okay, this is happening. I cannot do much about this, but I'm going to handle it differently. So when you recognize this is a stress and this is a problem, then immediately the stress goes away and you start seeing from different angle.
Yeah.
And so this is my point. Anyway, let me ask you another question. We're all talking about AI. So with the rise of AI and digital tools, people are expected to deliver more than ever. How should leaders balance technology, human judgment, and well being?
Yeah. I think basically you should use AI not to increase workload for humans, but to reduce it. I should, because otherwise AI is a burden and not a benefit.
Yeah,
If you use AI and put more stress, some more tasks on humans, that's not the purpose. So think about that basic thing. And then you have to look at the system of humans who are using AI and the processes that are working in your system. And some of the processes might be fully or partly or in part automated by AI. Some are still working. Still, you have processes. And if you see these three things, humans, AI, processes, you have to somehow rebalance it. So put some load reduction in the process to make it automated, but also maybe AI can be useful for humans in the decision making outside of the process. But you have to look at the whole system to redesign it. And human judgment has to be also strengthened in this environment because you cannot trust AI.
yeah,
You yeah, there's a lot of self-fulfilling prophecy in AI. So it's the data AI looking for to give you an answer. It's the data that has been created by AIs before. It's a self-fulfilling cycle. Maybe it's really dumb things coming out. But you can use AI, let's say, as your younger brother. They come up with suggestions, and then
yeah,
you
suggestion, yeah,
you discuss and you check why are you saying this or what is the background. So I always use AI in a kind of dialogue. It's not one question that I get, but it's a chain of question that comes after that to check where is the data from? Is there something else? And very often there's something else. And very often even the judgment they make
Yeah.
is made up. I'm writing a thesis in university now, and I'm looking for articles referring to a topic, let's say, what is success in program management? And then they come up with papers who are talking about that. You look at these papers, you don't find them. So you always have to check, are they lying or just making it up because they want to be friendly? And it's very often. And the strength in human judgment goes beyond that. And I found in the newest ChatGPT versions, there is a lot of checking for ethical behavior. So can you talk about the PMP exam a little bit? They won't tell you a lot of the background, even if they know.
Mm.
You have to go more and more. AI is not like Google, just giving you the hits, or it's not like a book or an article. AI is really a little bit more dangerous and more unreliable, but it can help a lot if you know how to use it.
Is how to use is there any technology, whether it's a machine or device or any whatever, how you use the technology is important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, technology is technology. It can be very useful, it can be very harmful, like a fire. Fire is what? It can be used for cooking food or to warm yourself in winter. But it's other way around. Fire can destroy the whole house, can destroy the families. So it's all about how we use that technology.
Give me an example about maybe a question you should ask. So we have a team of 10 on this project and we have to reduce by two. Which two of my team members should I fire?
Okay. So first, okay.
Paul and Peter. And this is a bad question because really it requires your judgment, your experience, but you can go out to which of the 10 people, can you rank the 10 people according to their productivity, to the hours worked, to the sickness hours, or whatever? You can get all this data and you should get it probably, but you should also understand what are the circumstances under which. Give you an example. Even before AI, there was a company in California, and they were reducing headcounts, and they said, "Okay, let's look at all these people we have on the project over the last 2 years or so." And they found one woman who was on a lot of projects, but seemed not to contribute much. And but they found out every project she was on was successful. And then they made a deep dive into her role, and her role was really nothing that was documented or in a process. It was just her role to feel conflicts in the respective teams of the projects and made them mitigate them. So it was a very important team role that was not defined in the process. But so they didn't fire her
Yeah.
because she was very important, even if she was not productive.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So yeah, use the technology, especially AI, which is part of us now. We have to live with it, and it is very helpful if you use it properly. And it can be harmful. It can be used for reducing the stress level by doing more work or more. You can say the admin work can be done by the machine or the AI, and then you
Yeah.
can focus more on building your stakeholder relationship or looking after the client engagement. That can be more productive rather than worrying about create the report, the graph, a picture, which can be done now with machine like AI.
Yeah,
All
correct.
right, my next question to you: for the project professional, they're aspiring to be PgMP, PfMP, PMOCP, or many of those strategic leadership roles. What advice would you give them to avoid burnout while aiming high?
Yeah. First certification is a project because it has a start and you set an end date, even if you miss this in the end. But it's unique because you are the one who brings in the experience and the specific needs to close your knowledge gaps. Getting wise is a program and living a good life. So there is a difference between certifications and life and getting wise. So my advice for running that project is don't do it by yourself. Maybe you have a sponsor. Your boss says, okay, I give you the money for that and please do that. But it's also, if you have a sponsor, you also have stress because they will be asking, what's your progress? When are you done? What's in it with my money? And so on. I never had sponsors for my certifications. I was happy about that. So I had to pay a little bit with the sponsor. Stress also gives you some motivation to be quick and to do that. But get a mentor, get somebody to talk to about the certification. And I know you are offering professional mentorship programs for that. And that's one option, but you also could go to another, let's say it's PgMP, PfMP, and who has done it not 20 years ago, recently, so they understand what are the things and they get that. And try to find 2 or 3 peers. That's what I'm saying. Get help. Get help by people. And that's one thing. Understand the language, because the language of projects is different to the language of portfolios, to the language of programs. And I know that you're also helping people to understand the language a little bit, so the terminology and do that. If you are documenting your experience requirements, know your exam topics. What is, you have the exam content outline, which gives you the tasks that are being asked in the exam and what topics are used to design the exam and the questions. And when you describe your experience, you should use this language and these requirements from the echo to describe it, because people won't have a hard time. Even if you have a wonderful big program, they have a hard time really to relate that to if you are fulfilling the requirements which are coming from the echo.
Yeah.
Measure your progress, and like every project. So you have a plan, make a plan, and then check it every 2 weeks or so and say, oh, where am I?
Yeah. Actually, this question should be asked to myself. I have trained so many PGMP, PFMP, and many other strategic goals. You need to have a plan. You need to have a structure around you. You need to work with your peers, having 2 or 3 people and working together, work with the mentor, selecting the right person with you. All these are good, but this is a big thing in your life. It's not everything. You have, if why are you getting the PGMP, PFMP, or any other certificate? Because this is likely to add value to your profession, your career, your learning, your productivity. All these are tick, tick, tick. But the most important thing, yes, I have to do it, and I have a plan, and I have a structure with the right mindset, the right people. The most important thing, you have discipline. You have dates in your mind. Okay, I want to do my PGMP by, let's say, in 3 months from now, and this is where I'm targeting. I have a structure around me. I have all the books, required books. I've joined some programs and learning from that. I'm building my knowledge. I'm building my mindset, and also I have some question bank and other thing, and practice. Practice not just to be. One thing I like to say: don't try to memorize things. When some exam may be okay when you memorize that you can just, these 2 or 3 questions going to be asked. But here we're talking about a complex exam with 4 hours, 170 question, scenario-based question. You need to be calm and control. That's where the stress level we're talking about. You have to be calm and control. So
Yeah.
one advice to my student is, or to anybody who's doing the exam is, take the exam, like you have to enjoy the exam. And that happens when you have less stress. And the key for that is you've done all the prep work beforehand. And the last day, try to avoid touching the books. Try to avoid thinking about the exam. And I know it's very difficult because that's tomorrow's exam. How can I do that? But more you take you away from exams, books, and all those, watch movies and spend time with your family, which you have been avoiding for some time, and take away from that. And actually, one student of mine, he sent me picture day before exam. He was in the park and his wife, and he was having fun. He's taken this advice very seriously, and that actually helped him when he scored about target, and he passed the exam with all, and he completed exam in much faster than normal, and he passed the exam as well. And so why you spending time with, you have exam tomorrow, why you spending in the park? Because you're taking away the stress level out of you. Now, when you see the exam question after question, you're looking at the question very different. You're not looking at the, oh my God, stress. And when you are stressed, you cannot see the question properly. You can well
Yeah,
read. You're reading, but you're not reading because your mind is not comprehending it properly. But when you're stress-free, calm, and you look at the question, look at the option, generally you're fast because you can eliminate most of the options correctly, eliminate them, and you get to the right answer, and you continue question after question. That's where the key to pass this exam. Less stress with more presence in the exam will help you to doing any exam, not only PGMP, but any other exam or in a stressful environment where the things are very really stressed, everybody is stressed and you are calm because you can see things much better than other person.
that's the self-control part of emotional intelligence we talked about, that
Exactly.
you understand what are my stress triggers and you are calm because you can really sync with your prefrontal cortex. And you need that to answer the questions. The questions are logic. The questions are not emotions.
Yeah. Another thing, take breaks, and not breaks, but one break at least, just to that breaks your. If you are already stressed, you can okay. You know what? I'm going stressed. I have to calm down and bring your energy back. Wash your eyes, and then. So that's my 2 cents. And then if somebody has to ask me or detail how to, and of course you talk to me and book some time with me, and happy to discuss all these things in detail. But this was my last question, Thomas. Thank you very much for your insight and your guidance and your the way you handle things, and which can help many people. And look, you don't just take the advice as it is. You need to see what is relevant to me and how I'm going to use this knowledge coming from Dharam and Thomas and help me in this situation.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always good if the advice you can give here in this kind of sessions is for everybody. It's general advice. But if you have a mentoring in PGMP, let's say, or mentoring as I do with people who are in the job search situation or whatever,
Mm.
then it's also taking into account what their situation is, where they are coming from, where their gaps are. And that needs really a one-to-one situation. And this also helps them. One of our tasks as mentors then is to, as you say, reduce their stress level, make them confident.
When you're more confident and you are less stressed, things are very different. You're very productive, more productive than normal, and things very differently, and you get the results. So
Correct.
thank you,
Good.
Thomas. Thank you very much for your input, and very happy and honored to be part of your knowledge sharing or knowledge collection journey.
My pleasure, Dara.
And I will see you soon again with a new topic.
Yeah. I wish you a nice holiday time and a good start into the new year, and see you again.
Same here, and you enjoy your time and enjoy the Christmas and the festival time, all of you, and see you again very soon, or you see us very soon.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.